Hello everyone, Jamie Trull here, your favorite CPA and financial literacy coach. And this channel is typically all about finances, making more profit as a business owner, avoiding scams, all the fun things that come with being a business owner or self-employed individual who is really trying to make the most of their finances. So we've been talking about taxes for a while on this channel, but today we're going to take a little bit of a divergence because I know y'all are probably tired of talking about taxes or thinking about taxes. The tax deadline has passed, yay hurrah. So let's move on to talking about some other things. And one of the things I've been wanting to talk about for a while is to do a review of a book that I recently read by Amy Porterfield. So this is a review of the book 2 Weeks Notice by Amy Porterfield. It came out in, I think February is when it first came out. And I've been reading it. I finished it a while ago, but it's been kind of sitting there waiting for me to do this review. Now, I'm gonna tell you real quick, this is not an unbiased review. There's no possible way for this to be an unbiased review from me because of the impact that Amy Porterfield had on my business and on my life. So I will just say that up front. This is going to be a raving review. I'm going to tell you about the book, but I'm also going to be talking about one specific part of this book that I think you guys should read. And that is chapter 10, which is actually a chapter that goes over my story. So I was interviewed for this book, which is really cool because this hit the New York Times bestseller list, y'all. That's crazy. And it talks about, along with other people's stories, a lot of these people whom I know and are part of this community of online marketers, it talks about my story of going from working a corporate job to then working one-to-one with clients and then creating a fully digital company that is all about financial education. So if you didn't know that by now, that's what I do. That's what I do here on YouTube. I have courses and things like that I sell. I have tools that I sell to help business owners. My business is entirely online related now. I sell everything via the internet. I have no more one-to-one clients, and my life has completely changed. And it all has to do not with this book. Man, do I wish this book had been around when I first started, but it does all have to do with Amy Porterfield herself. So this book didn't exist when when I started kind of writing the story that would become, my life story to this point and my business's story. And so I started mainly by listening to her Online Marketing Made Easy podcast, which just also happens to be one of the highest rated business podcasts out there. And the cool thing about that is I started my journey really just listening and binging to different things that Amy put out there about how to grow an online business. And since then, I've been able to grow my own online business. I've been on her podcast 3 times, that same podcast that I used to binge listen to for all the advice and helped me grow my business. I've now been on 3 times, and now I am featured in chapter 10 of this book. So I can tell you, as a person who has actually been through it, you may have people read this book and tell you they don't like it or that it's, not helpful advice, but I can speak to every chapter in here and how helpful this advice that she has now put into a super affordable book. A lot of this advice came through programs that I took of hers, but she's put tons of it in the cost of a book, which is like crazy value. So I definitely recommend if you are someone who has thought about, maybe you've started an online business or you've thought about growing an online business. And I'm specifically talking to those of you, maybe you're doing one-to-one service work right now, and you would either love to pivot more into teaching or making tools, or maybe you just want to supplement your one-to-one business with more online digital sales. This is the book for you. This is where you want to start, okay? So I'm gonna dive into this book. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what is in it, what the table of contents looks like, what you're gonna learn from it, and then we're gonna talk about my story a little bit. But what I love about everything that Amy does is she is fully step by step, and this information is actionable. This isn't just kind of high level, theory. We're talking about the step-by-step what you need to do. And she is so good at helping people along because this is one of those things, when I first started an online business, I didn't understand any of it. I felt like I was completely flying by the seat of my pants, and thank goodness for somebody like her who gave me some direction so that I didn't just feel like I was flailing around and trying to figure out all out on my own. Okay, so this book has 13 chapters, but then it also has some amazing appendixes in here that actually have sample scripts, sample social media posts, sample emails. Y'all, like, I'm telling you, when I say it's actionable, it is super duper actionable. And the great thing is, it really starts by kind of starting out to say, here's how you turn your dreams into reality. Here's why you might want to do something like this. And then it talks about how to give your notice. Now, I was one of the people that actually didn't have to give my notice. So to me, I may not have thought that this book was right for me because I had already done that. By the time I came into Amy's world, I already had a business. I already was helping people one-to-one as a consultant. And so I may not have picked up this book, but if that's you, this book is absolutely for you too. So we'll tell you how to give your notice. If you don't need to give your notice, well, you can kind of skip forward. And it's going to talk about how to set your business up for success. We're going to talk about dialing in your factor. I love that she really delves into figuring out what's best for you. One of the biggest mistakes that I made in building my business originally was building a business based on what other people were doing. Versus sitting down and thinking about, what's the life I actually want for myself? What are my unique talents and goals that I have? And so I think you start by trying to emulate other people and what's worked for other people, but you can very quickly kind of get lost in that, where you lose you and what you really want. And that's oftentimes why businesses don't work out, is because you try something that worked and fit for somebody else, but it wasn't right for you. And that's totally normal. We're all different people. Of course, we should be thinking about what's right for us. Okay, so she walks you through kind of how to do that, how to think about it. I love this chapter name, You Ain't For Everyone, Boo. I think that came from Jasmine Star. That sounds just like Jasmine Star. But it talks about identifying your ideal customer avatar. So who are you selling to? Who are you creating things for? Who do you want to help? You have to have a really clear picture of who that is. And she walks through how to do that in this book in a great amount of details. She talks about the ugliest website on the internet, how to build your website, right? How to get started. That was one of the things that held me back in the very beginning. I was like, oh my gosh, I need all these things. I need social media. I need a website. I need a logo, right? She talks about what's important and what's not important and helps you to be able to really focus, which is something that every new business owner needs to be able to do. Even if you're just pivoting an old business and creating a new offshoot, you need to remember it's all about action, not so much about all the little details and having them perfect. What is it? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good. That's one of my favorite sayings, is don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You want it to be good enough to get out in the world, because you will spend forever trying to make it perfect and you'll never feel like it is, and then you'll just drop it eventually and it will go nowhere. We don't want that to happen. Content is queen. How to create content, okay? Consistent content that your audience is going to love. This is where we get so confused about what the heck do I put out in the world? How do I do this social media thing? Talks about building an email list. Some people will tell you email is dead. Those people are wrong. How do I know this? Because I get sales every single day from my email list. Every day. Not that I email even every day, but those people are clicking and buying, and it puts me in front of people to be able to tell them what I have so that they don't just see me on social media one time and then forget all about me. Building an email list is something that you own. If they shut down Facebook tomorrow and all of your people are there, or Instagram or TikTok or wherever it is, then you're gonna have a problem. You need a way to be able to reach out and contact the people who are interested in what you have to offer that isn't dependent on somebody else's site. We don't know what's gonna happen to these social media platforms. There's already been a lot of discussion around, what could happen to some of these big platforms, and that would put a lot of people in a big problem who wouldn't be able to reach their audience anymore. Get those emails. She will walk you through exactly how to do that and how to automate it. Then it's going to be talking about making social media work for you. That's another one of those things where you want to do what works for you and not what everybody else is doing. I will argue that doing what everybody else is doing is absolutely not going to get you where you want to go. It just isn't. I know that's where we tend to start, but you have to know what's going to work best for you specifically. And then it's about, let's go make some money. 3 revenue generating strategies. We need to generate some money, and launching a revenue generating assets, the 5-step process to create a workshop course. Okay, so basically she walks you through that whole entire process within this book. Now, I took an entire course from Amy Porterfield called Digital Course Academy. I highly, highly, highly recommend it. She only opens it once a year. It's opening this September, I believe, is the next time that it will open for 2023. And that is something that if you've thought about creating an online course, you definitely want to be thinking about. If you're not quite there yet, she has other things that you may want to check out of hers, like she's got a list builder society to teach you how to build an email list. But I still would start with this book. So if you want to get the link to this book, I have my Amazon link, of course, but also link to these other things that she offers that I highly recommend, like List Builder Society. She's got a free workshop out there as well. There's lots of great things. Go to jamietrull.com/Amy while you're there so you don't miss Digital Course Academy. You can go ahead and get on the wait list for Digital Course Academy. That will put you on my DCA wait list because I will be an affiliate again this fall for DCA. We have an amazing class that goes through it all together. Anybody that buys through my affiliate link gets a bunch of extra bonuses, and you really get to connect with people in a much smaller group than what Digital Course Academy, which is much bigger. So if you're interested or might be interested in that, just make sure to sign up for that waitlist so you don't miss anything and so you can find out about my bonuses first. But definitely go check out that page. Again, jamietrull.com/Amy. We keep that updated with all the best resources for online course creators as they come out. So new things will be added all the time, but definitely check it out. Now, if you'll indulge me, I'm going to jump in really quickly and I want to read parts of my section in here where she writes about my story in chapter 10, which is the chapter about making social media work for you and building a following on your terms. And I think that this is something some of you have been around, have seen some of this story, have been here since the beginning. And so it's really interesting to actually be able to read this in this type of form and summarize my business journey in this way, because of course it feels a lot longer to me, but it's really kind of neat to see it laid out like this. So if you want the Reader's Digest version of how Jamie came to be doing what she's doing, then please indulge me. I'm going to read this chapter from 2 weeks' notice for you, so you don't even have to buy the book, but I still recommend buying the book. Okay, so make social media work for you. So for 13 years, Jamie worked in accounting for a big beverage bottler. Gee, I wonder who. On paper, it was a great gig. She enjoyed it, and even better, she was good at it. But every day she would wake up, put in her hours, scramble to get dinner on the table and put her kids to bed, and then wake up and do it all over again. She felt beholden to everyone else's agenda but her own, without any control over her own time and missing a sense of freedom. Any of my corporate people feel that? Any of my ex-corporate people feel that? I really didn't dislike my job, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't mine to have. I didn't have control over my life in the way that I do now, not even by a long shot. Although Jamie enjoyed the recognition she got in corporate because she was an achiever by nature, true, she knew she wanted to do something that had an impact on the world in a way her current job did not. In fact, she would look at the successful women in her industry and think, that is not the life I want for myself and my family. She knew she wasn't willing to give up everything she saw these women giving up in order to get to where they were. So I want to add on, and I'm just going to give a little bit of my diatribe on these, but this was almost a hard thing for me to say out loud because I did have some amazing women mentors, but I also saw a lot of women in the upper echelons of multiple companies that I worked at that really had given a lot. They had given up a lot. Either they gave up having a family potentially for their career, or they gave up really being able to spend time because they were the main breadwinner for their family. And so they really just didn't get to spend as much time as they probably would have wanted to with their family. And that was really hard. And as a person kind of growing up, I'm technically, I think I'm a zennial, I'm a cusper, right? But I'm technically a millennial, I guess. But for me, I wanted to do everything. And I didn't want to sacrifice. And I know that I'm very lucky to have that feeling. I'm very lucky to have had choices because so many of the women that came before me didn't. So I want to say I have mad respect for those people that came in front of me and for the sacrifices that they made that allowed me then to have more options, to not have to make that impossible choice. So this is no shame to those people because I have mad respect for them, but I knew that wasn't the life that I wanted for myself. So it wasn't until Jamie was 8 months pregnant with her second child, working long hours on a multi-billion-dollar merger that would soon put her out of a job, that is true, that something clicked. Taking her severance, she moved her family back to her hometown while she tried to figure out her next steps. So that is true. I worked myself out of a job. We were doing a re-domiciling and they were closing the corporate headquarters in Atlanta where I worked. And so that I knew I was working, my butt off pregnant with a baby, knowing that there was no career on the other side of that for me. I knew I wasn't going to move to London, so that kind of was a wake-up call for me. I probably could have stayed in that job forever, but it forced me to make a decision, and I'm really grateful for that. Having never been outside the traditional corporate world, she wasn't sure how to make money without working for someone else. And now being a mom of 2, she was struggling to follow her heart to pursue the career she wanted while still providing for her family. But in the meantime, she started taking on clients, consulting on typical run-of-the-mill accounting and finance services. I kind of figured, what else am I going to do? I knew I didn't want to go back into a full corporate job, but I wanted to help make money for my family. I really wanted to provide, and honestly, I like to work. I'm not anti-working. I wanted to continue to do that and have something for myself. Most of my clients were women. I said my, but this says her. Most of her clients were women, and the longer she worked with them, the more she saw a gap in the marketplace, one that she knew she had the ability to fill. Women wanted to learn about finances from other women, but the financial consulting industry was traditionally male-dominated. And I'll also argue that it was traditionally dominated by older males or people that have been doing this for a long time. So I think a lot of women kind of felt that mansplaining vibe. Maybe it wasn't somebody that was super personable. So I knew that, people wanted something different in the world of financial education. In response, Jamie turned to social media. She created a Facebook group called Financial Literacy for Women Business Owners and started showing up live every week. She directed the women in the group to her email list by offering a lead magnet called the 7 Finance Pitfalls to Avoid for Solopreneurs. That was my very first lead magnet. In just a month and a half, she generated a following of more than 1,200 members with 400 people on her email list and a fully booked client schedule. That is true. When the COVID pandemic hit, Jamie went live almost daily in her group, answering questions and diving into the confusing world of stimulus checks and PPP loans. Many of you found me during that time. She was gaining followers by the thousands, with members asking to Venmo her compensation for all the free advice she was giving. That is true. I also had people literally sending me food to my door. It was absolutely crazy that people just needed this information, especially at the beginning of COVID when so much was changing and there was no information out there. And it was just, it was overwhelming to me, the support that I felt during that time. Instead, she created a crash course called Financial Fitness Basics, still available, which generated more than 6 figures in just 2 weeks. Jamie realized that by leveraging the power of social media, she was able to build a business on her own, support her family, and help thousands of women in the process. And of course, we help men as well. My heart goes towards women-owned businesses, but we definitely serve men as well. But it's really neat to read the story in that way and kind of abridged, because it does feel much longer and, hard to kind of abridge it down to that. But what Amy doesn't talk about in here, and she should, is the fact that didn't just happen. I didn't just create a course and make 6 figures. I learned how to create and market a course from her and then was able to do that. And so I think that is just really the critical thing, is to have a guide, have somebody helping you figure it out. You don't need to figure it all out. You do need to get creative, and you do want to have the attitude that you can figure it out. But having someone help you, having a step-by-step guide is so useful if you're thinking about doing this. Okay, if you're thinking about making it happen, don't waste the time and try to figure it out all on your own. Or even, as much as I love YouTube, don't try to piece together a bunch of random YouTube videos to try to figure out what you're supposed to do. Have someone guide you through it, and start with this book. That is a starting place. And then you can move on to maybe something like a list building webinar, something like that. Again, I have tons of resources over on jamietrull.com/Amy. And I just want you to go check them out. If this is something, even if you're not sure if you're interested in online marketing, if this has at all inspired you to delve a little bit further into the world, I will tell you my life is completely and utterly different than it was. The building phase was difficult. I worked a lot in the building phase. I'm now kind of on this phase on the other side where I have a team that is, full-time and helps me. I am able to have control over what I do with my schedule. I work a lot less hours than I used to on average, and I love what I do. I love what I do. I love the impact that I get to make. I love that I get to make an impact on an innumerable amount of people. There's no limit to the amount of people that I can help. And that is because of this business that I have built with the help of Amy Porterfield. So if that wasn't enough of a glowing recommendation, Amy, if you're watching this, hey, love you, friend. But I definitely want you to start here and just see if this sounds like something that you want to do. This book is a really, there's not a big commitment to just grabbing this book. You can get it right now on the Amazon link that I have on that page. Right now, it's $20 for the hardcover, $4.99 for Kindle. So I don't know how long that's going to stay, but it's only $4.99 for the Kindle version. Grab it while you can, jamietrull.com/Amy. Okay, y'all, you guys are amazing. Let me know if you have questions, if you want to hear more about my journey to creating online courses and changing my entire business model over the last several years and, transitioning out of the corporate world and how crazy but freeing that has been. I appreciate you indulging me and letting me read through this because it is really cool to see in print. And definitely go check out 2 Weeks Notice if you've already read it. Tell me what you thought of it down below. If you haven't read it yet, tell me you're gonna go grab it because it's awesome. Everybody, I will see you next time. I will be back with more content on finance, accounting, all of the things, don't worry. But I just wanted to do this little diversion for now, and I will see you later.